Hello again guys and welcome back, and today we're going to be looking at magic in the Ben 10 universe. And between the classic franchise and its related shows, there's actually a lot to say about this topic. So we're going to dive in and take a look at everything we know about magic in this series. So without wasting any more time, let's get into this video. Magic is simply the manipulation of life energy to achieve various effects or results. And the results can seemingly be anything. You can do things like create hurricanes, lightning bolts, levitate and fly. But this is just barely scratching the surface of magic. Magic doesn't seem to obey the natural laws of the universe. That is the laws that govern sciences and technology. And it's because of this you can do things which are seemingly impossible to do or don't even make sense. An example being animation spells, which can bring inanimate objects to life, and necromancy, which brings back the dead. Now, despite magic being able to do impossible things, it's not an all-powerful art. There are rules you have to follow and laws you must abide by. Now, this serves to make magic simply another science, and in order to use magic you must first understand these laws and how it works. So how does it work? Well, we first have to understand what life energy is. Now, life energy or mana is a particular energy every living thing produces just by virtue of being alive. It isn't easily detectable unless you know how to look for it. It flows out of everything living, be it human, alien, plants or animals. But to every rule there are exceptions. Some creatures who are classified as living don't give off mana, such as ectonorites. Now, the energy that these creatures give off don't just flow about aimlessly. Sooner or later, all the mana the living produce flow through a dimension known as legerdemain. Now, legerdemain is a dimension that is permeated with mana, so much so that it acts as one big mystic hotspot. Now, mystic hotspots are places where a lot of mystic energy or mana are concentrated, and in these places one's magical abilities become boosted to greater degrees. Spells and magic become much more powerful in these places just by virtue of being there. Now, this phenomenon is a natural aspect of legerdemain, but it can also be found in other places. Earth itself has various mystic hotspots in many locations, like the supernatural burial mounds near the Arctic Circle or Cursed Tomb. And anyone who can use magic becomes stronger while at these kinds of locations. Now, who exactly can use magic? The simple answer is we don't know. Magic isn't really delved into deeply in this franchise. The only info the writers have given is you have to have the natural ability to do magic before you can practice it. As you can see, that information is pretty vague, and I'm not going to be delving into it in this video because I've already covered it in another video called Can Ben Tennyson Use Magic? So if you want to get the info on who exactly can use magic in this series, I suggest you check out that video because there is actually a lot to say about that. Now, while one may have the ability to use magic, the kind of magic they can perform may vary. What I mean by this is that there isn't just one way to use magic, but actually several. Magic can be performed via incantations, items of power, non-verbal spells, rune carving, through innate ability, and through rituals and potions. We're going to take a quick look at all these ways of using magic, and we'll start with incantations. Now, the use of words to invoke magic is perhaps one of the most common methods of wielding magic. It is used by everyone from novices to masters alike. It involves the use of a certain language that is almost identical to real-world Latin to command and regulate magical energy to create a specific effect or spell. Basically, you say what you want to happen in this language, and if you can channel enough mana to make it happen, it will. Pretty simple. Now, these words must be pronounced correctly for it to work, as mispronouncing it will cause the spell not to take effect. And because this form of magic relies heavily on the use of this language, the more knowledge one has of this language, the more spells one can cast, and the fewer words, the fewer spells. Next, we have objects of power or magical items. Now, these are items that have been imbued with magical power and can be used to perform magic. They are used by magic users to better control and or enhance their own magical spells and abilities. They can also be used to perform spells that the wielder cannot do on their own. Non-magic users can also use this type of items as a way of doing magic even without the ability to perform it themselves. An example of this being Drew Saturday, who can use fire magic with her Tibetan fire sword. We also have non-verbal spells or magic. Now this form of magic is, as the name suggests, performing magic without the need of words, incantations, or objects of power. It requires more finesse than regular spell casting, as both Gwen and Charmcaster, who both use this kind of magic, only demonstrated skill in this form of magic after they had been studying the arcane for a while. Gwen learning faster than Charmcaster because of her Anodite ancestry, as this form of magic comes more easily to the Anodite race. The abilities one can use with this type of magic ranges from telepathy to energy projection, but it doesn't stop there, as levitation, mana sensing, and more can be performed using this form of magic. The skill one has with this type of magic depends on the ease at which one is able to manipulate mana. Anodites have the greatest control over mana, and as such can do things that other races can't. Verdona, a fully mature Anodite, has demonstrated such skill with this magic that she can seemingly warp reality at mere thought, a feat that is usually reserved for celestial sapiens. Though this would take about 75 years of studying under an Anodite for another Anodite to reach this skill. Moving on, we have our next type, innate magic. This form of magic is also non-verbal, but with the difference that it comes instinctively to the user. It is a type of magic that doesn't require training or deep knowledge, or any of that sort, and comes naturally to the user. It is usually used by magical creatures, as some animals can actually manipulate mana to perform magic, but usually theirs are of a specific nature. For example, the Maltese blue tiger can manipulate probability to bring about good luck, similar to the luck charm of Bazel, and the Amarok beast can create storms and blizzards, and the Parlofang can project raw mana energy blast. Finally, we have rune magic, which is the use of symbols called runes to perform magic. Runes are, or at least most seem to be, the true names of things in written form, and similar to verbal spells, you can cast magic using runes. The most powerful kind of rune is the Alpha Rune. The Alpha Rune is the secret true name of magic, and whoever possesses the rune has dominion over all magic in any dimension, and with it you are just short of all powerful. Now these are the main forms of magic shown in this series, but there are also other types such as potions and rituals, but we don't really know much about these, so we can't really say much. Now it should be noted that most of these forms of magic can be combined together. For example, items of powers can be combined with rune magic can be combined with incantations, non-verbal spells can be combined with rune magic, and so on and so forth. Now before I finish, I want to talk about magic and its relationship to technology. Now magic and technology are both sciences in this universe, though they both take a different approach to acquiring knowledge and understanding the universe. But there is a bridge between the two, and this was first shown in the original series. In the original series, while Gwen was in a sealed level 10 hazmat suit, she couldn't use any of her spells properly. The containment suit seemed to be able to somehow contain magic, as when she cast a spell, the energy just built up in her suit and stagnated instead of properly activating the spell. Now this proves that at least some technology can at least interfere with magic. Now some races take this a step further by purposefully influencing magic with technology, such as the Tekadon race, who can both detect magic and counter it with their technology, and the Synthroid race, which are capable of containing magic and even draining it and converting it to other forms of energy. It is unknown how far one can go influencing magic with technology, and sadly the show doesn't really expand into that, so these two races are all we have to go on. And sadly, that's all we can say about magic and technology. And with that, this video is brought to a close. It was rather challenging making this video, as it involved doing more research than I've ever had to do on one video, but still it was pretty engaging and I hope you like it. If you do, please click the like button and also share this video to anyone you think may be interested. Also feel free to leave a comment, as any feedback is good feedback. I would also release my next video as soon as possible. Until then, you can check out my other videos on my channel and feel free to subscribe to get notification early. Thank you for watching and see you guys later.